attack, fast fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and packs. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're just freaked out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here. Now, whenever we last left off, Midoriya, he has met and joined with Venom. Now, before Venom met Midoriya, he joined with a man who had spider-like abilities. In fact, the man's quirk was odd. It was relatively useful and good, but it lacked certain things. And Venom, being a bit of a, well, parasite you could say, he did eat some organic materials. Basically, he would consume a little bit of the DNA of their host, but also just randomly some pieces that he either got caught in, or something he simply just ran over and found was organic. Basically, he could eat. Now, with that being said, in all the amount of time of searching, he ran into a couple spiders. And after running into the man with the spider quirk, and, well, meeting Midoriya and settling in, he tried to augment Midoriya's body, so as to have certain abilities. Now, Venom's whole idea was to basically allow Midoriya to make weapons out of him. That was the initial thought. That was not really very well thought through. However, somewhat looking into Midoriya's mind and seeing about quirks, he found that he had the perfect idea. So he gave Midoriya the strength of this man, and splicing in a bit of spider DNA, you got the spider webs. And then there's that mysterious sixth sense that a spider has. Quite interesting. And the whole grip Venom can do, basically mimicking hair follicles on your hands, that's simply just Venom poking through Midoriya's skin. It is mimicking hair follicles, but they aren't actually hair follicles. So you can't just grip things. Now, with that being said, Midoriya, he just took down Bakugo in the last part, and did have to let him go. He's still not really used to this. In fact, he's actually still wearing the suit. And the teachers are asking Midoriya if he can please put his quirk away, to which he doesn't really know how to do. Kind of trying to explain that he's not too sure how it works. He's still trying to get used to it and still learning. The teacher just ignoring it, while other kids are trying to talk with Deku and see about it. Now, Bakugo is sitting across the room, and he's simply just staring at Midoriya, while still trying to understand what type of quirk that is. It can't be that good, right? It's a quirk. Everyone else here has crappy quirks. He's the only one with a good one. Now, with that being said, Bakugo does actually get a bit annoyed. And someone does try and get his attention, simply just telling him that he needs to calm down. Bakugo getting frustrated and simply just yelling at them to shut up, before just tossing his book across the room, towards Midoriya. While he is talking and distracted, there is that sixth sense. Midoriya immediately just bring up his hand and venom elongating from his body. as it catches the book out of the air, and Midoriya turns to see it. Everyone just watching as this substance that went away from Midoriya's hand goes back to completely covering it, and Midoriya grabs onto the book, simply just still staring at it. Everyone in shock and awe. The teacher? Yeah, they're not too sure what to say about that. They completely stopped paying attention for a second to stare at Midoriya, before going back to Bakugo and telling him that that is not how he should be using his quirk, and to sit down. Now, the rest of the day does somewhat pass normally. However, Midoriya, he has an odd feeling. Whenever he is at lunch and sitting down at a table and talking with different people, there is a kid showing off his quirk. In fact, it's kind of weird and odd, but hey, he's not really one to judge. The kid basically showing off a fire quirk. In fact, Midoriya, he doesn't really feel comfortable being that close. Along with the fact that whenever the kid does actually light up the quirk and try and show it off, Venom actually does somewhat retreat, basically uncovering Midoriya on the front side of his body, explaining to Midoriya very carefully that fire is one of his weaknesses, and that his kind naturally do not like it. This somewhat surprising Midoriya. He does have a weakness. That kinda makes sense. And the kid with the quirk, yeah. He's asking Midoriya what's going on with his own. Midoriya trying to explain that he is not too sure. However, whatever is going on with it, it isn't like that. Really? How can you tell? I'm I'm kinda not sure. Sorta instinct, I guess. Can you please stop that? Oh, yeah, sure, man. Now, with that being said, this is whenever the rest of the day does pass, and everyone does head home. Midoriya beginning to try and understand Venom, and the two do talk. Venom basically trying to explain things to Midoriya about his own home planet, while Midoriya tries to explain certain things Venom does not understand about Earth. These two going back and forth, along with Midoriya trying to understand Venom a bit more. And he does actually somewhat look up what Venom describes himself as, helping something that he is connected to, and trying to help improve Midoriya's body. Apparently he's something called a symbiote. Just kidding, symbiote. Now, I know someone's probably going to laugh at that. Anyways, now, Midoriya, he's kind of surprised, learning that certain things on Earth do actually share this type of trait with Venom, a symbiote. That's actually pretty interesting. But anyways, now, Midoriya, after looking into it a bit more, he also does learn about something called a parasite. Something that will rob the host of nutrients, and instead of trying to help the host survive, will willingly rob it until it dies. Yeah. That sort of freaks Midoriya out, since he does feel a bit peckish, and a bit hungry. Now, Venom then goes on to explain to Midoriya that he is going to help him become a hero to achieve that dream of being just like All Might. Venom actually retreating into his body and going onto his arm, completely covering it as he pops up. instructing Midoriya that he's going to learn a lot more about Earth. And hopefully it helps. Asking Midoriya to simply just allow him to pilot him while he's asleep. Midoriya, yeah. He asks Venom about why, to which he just says that Midoriya can sleep while he is in control. However, he does not want to, well, ruin this perfect symbiosis. Or symbiosis. My bad. I made that joke and now I'm actually starting to get stuck saying that. Now, Venom goes on to explain a host like Midoriya is very rare. He's not too certain. However, on their planets, it's dark, and nothing really happens. However, here, it's nice. He's not too sure what happened to his planets, but he is glad that he was hiding whenever it did. Now, Midoriya does somewhat give Venom control. He just starts to look through the internet and try and learn more things that Venom seems to be interested in. Now, Venom does actually, well, pay attention to a lot of things and learn more. Learning about spider abilities. Looking up heroes that might have quirks similar to the man that he bonded with. And surprise, surprise, there are very few. Some of them are strange, others seem ridiculous. But Midoriya, yeah. Eventually he does begin to drift. And he falls asleep at the computer, his head lying on the desk. While Venom, he basically goes on Midoriya's arm and begins to scroll through, basically only controlling this limb. And he begins to learning about heroes, pros, and the way the world apparently works, along with learning about All Might. He seems to be very interesting. Then again, he does actually look up about consuming organisms, something that he has had to do, something that would be able to eat, and trying to learn about cuisines. Heroes apparently follow a thing called a diet, and that is how they get into good shape. You do have many heroes. All Might, who is jacked to high hell, and Endeavor, who basically copied him, since he did not want to look tiny. Then, well, there's other types of heroes, who instead of bulking up, they became leaner, and they looked more toned in their body. That look seemed to be relatively harder to achieve, and Venom does try and think about it. All these heroes follow certain diets, and the boy already might need to consume a little more than he needs to, since Venom can just sustain off of just a few little things. Every now and again, he does need to consume something. But, outside the story, he does not need to eat Midoriya's organs. This isn't the new movie that came out. I'm going off of the comics and the older movies. Back in the story. Venom decides that Midoriya, he's going to find out something that might work, along with actually begin to try and change a bit of his DNA, so that he might be better at what he does. If Midoriya has a mental illness like the man from before, he might be able to prevent it from developing. If he has a physical illness like the flu, he can quite simply make Midoriya's immune system stronger. Basically, like upgrading him. And he thinks about it for a minute. If he can basically upgrade Midoriya's entire body, Then he can become closer and closer to being like All Might. Being like that super strong guy who apparently no one knows his quirk. Yeah, he looked into it for hours upon hours on end. Basically almost, I'd say 9.5 hours. Before Midoriya did wake up. Now, Venom and Midoriya do begin to talk. And Venom does bring up the idea. Midoriya will need to work out one day in order to become strong, so he can do something for him. He can help make Midoriya's body a lot tougher and stronger, just like a person with a quirk. And Midoriya does find that to be interesting, increasing his durability. But hearing that he has to rewrite his DNA, yeah. He wants to learn a bit more about that before Venom does it, to which he agrees. And the two do try and live a somewhat normal life. As we'll cut to a couple years later. Midoriya, who is currently around the age of 10. So I want to say, I think 5 years actually? 5 or 4 years have passed. Now, Midoriya, yeah. Him and Venom's relationship has been odd. Midoriya was able to one day reveal, after learning about sentient quirks, that his quirk is sentience. And many different people were surprised to hear about that. Midoriya explained that it just happened one day. He's not too sure. Apparently Venom hid in his blood, and there wasn't enough of him. So he never knew about it. Until he did something, apparently. Now, along with that, Midoriya, he's beginning to train a bit. He does go out for a couple runs, a couple workouts and other stuff. And Bakugo, yeah. Him looking into many different quirks, he's seen what the pros can do, and he's seen what other people can do. He once found out about a pro hero who has an explosion quirk. And their quirk in comparison made his look like sparklers. So he himself began to train. And eventually him and Midoriya did run into each other. Bakugo did try and maintain his standoffish personality, with not wanting to get close with anyone, not wanting to rely on a friend. Now, Midoriya, yeah. Him and Bakugo do go at each other a little bit. They're either fighting at school or usually trying to fight with each other whenever they encounter each other on their workout schedules. Yeah. It's becoming less of them just running into each other and more of it's like a set time. Basically, him and Midoriya will both show up to the beach. Whenever Midoriya is either running by or Bakugo's practicing his explosions, trying to go all out and build the muscle in his forearms, and the ligaments in the bend of his arm. Now, Midoriya, he does have a lot more confidence. Along with that, people have noticed that his body, whenever they do compare him to Bakugo, Midoriya looks physically healthier, you could say. Where Bakugo does look like he has a bit more muscle on him, Midoriya looks as if he works out a bit more, since they think that he has less body fat. Now, along with that, he has gotten a lot of confidence in this time. Midoriya's confidence went from about, what was it in the anime? -10 to at least being a 10 on a scale of 100. Or at least let's say a good 50. He's confident in himself, but he won't just run headfirst into danger. He would probably, but that's if he panics. But he won't ever do that, right? Right? Guys? Anyways. Jesus. Enough jokes. Now, with that being said, I do believe that that is a good point to leave this off of. And I do hope you guys enjoyed.